Change something or
Thank you for joining the Hope and Possibilities podcast. I'm Nola Simon. So I want to talk about skill-based job setups, particularly organizations who use actual AI to determine skills that they have within the organizations that they don't realize their people even have, and how they use that to actually move people into different jobs and upskill and do different things. And that's all great. But the thing is, if you're constantly only just being assigned to projects based on skills that you have and you don't really have an identity, that's something that you're developing within the organization that's tied to a profession. So it makes it easy for somebody to say, I do this. Like, I'm a dentist, I'm an accountant, I'm a whatever. You're going to actually have some pushback and some problems with how people adapt to that, because work honestly is tied up in a lot of identity. And sometimes that's healthy, sometimes that's not. But it becomes how do you tell the story of what you do? What is the impact of what you do? How do you explain it in a way that's easily digestible and people understand it? So when you're walking your dog, for example, you can say, hi, I do this, because people will ask you. A lot of times, personally, I blow that off because people don't understand the depth of what it is that I do. So I honestly, a lot of times just tell people that I'm a writer. I do a lot of writing. It's not untrue. It's just sometimes if I'm not invested in the relationship with that particular person, it's the easiest thing to say. So skills, great. I think upskilling is fantastic. I can understand why you want to tap the skills and abilities in your organization, because it's probably easier than trying to hire for specific skill sets that may or may not exist in the current market that you operate in. But you really have to pay attention to how that impacts the identity that people have in relation to their work, and how that also impacts autonomy. Do they have the choice whether to take these projects or not? I am very skilled in data analysis, and I don't really enjoy it. If you give me a task, a whole spreadsheet of data, and ask me to interpret it, I can do that. I can work with it. But my interest is not that. So I would turn you down, because that's not the type of work that fuels me. That's not intrinsically motivated work that feels great to do. I can completely do it with a lot of skill and ability, but that's not what I want to be doing. What I want to be doing is looking at the stories attached to that data and what that data truly means when you actually look at the narratives that it represent. That's my sweet zone. So definitely data oriented, but much more in how that ties into strategy and narrative intelligence, right? This is where it becomes a whole issue. On paper, you might look like somebody who wants to do that work, but you might not honestly want to do that work. It could be tied up in personal preference. It could be tied up in physical ability. It could be tied up in emotional trauma. Work is a lot of different things to a lot of different people, and you don't know everyone's full history because a lot of times they're not honestly disclosing it to you either. So you have to be careful when you're actually just building out a skills-based organization. Definitely you want to look at it. Upskilling is an amazing thing to do. Repurposing people instead of laying them off and leveraging their talents in different ways. Absolutely. I'm fully aware of that, and I do support that. But what you want to be careful with is the identity piece. Because if you're putting people in work and on teams and combining them with people that they don't enjoy, just because their skills happen to be compatible, if the rest of the pieces aren't in place, you're going to be creating teams that really don't function in a workplace that is going to be ultimately unproductive and maybe even toxic. So, anyways, that's my thought.
And I don't felt that as a person with to thanks for listening so to be the data to the similar theory. I just and so that I just little to change signs of an orb.